So what's your drink of choice there, Mr. Mike? Looks like you have a venti, something or other.
Yep. Some people call it jet fuel. It is a venti cold brew with no ice and 2 raw sugar. Do you know why I do no ice?
Tell me why.
Because when they put ice in the cup, you get barely any coffee and a lot of ice.
And it gets watered down, and then you're just drinking coffee water.
It's just disgusting.
Yeah.
It's the worst thing ever. So just a cold brew, my friends, with no ice and some raw sugar.
That's doing the trick, huh?
How do you take your coffee?
I usually do a tall latte with heavy cream.
Heavy cream.
Heavy cream.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then that
you want the heavy calories.
I want the heavy calories. I don't know what my day is going to be like, so I don't want to.
So you're loading up.
I'm loading up. I am fat loading.
Oh, I mean, fat loading is probably a good segue to what kind of reviews and feedback we've been getting lately.
What kind of fat did we get?
Yeah,
let's chew.
You tell me what. I feel like you got some of the main stuff.
Yeah, one of the things was that coming on into the podcast, maybe we can heighten up the energy and you kind of start it off with a little bit, maybe not screaming, but some excitement,
like some applause. Do you think?
Maybe.
That's probably a little too much.
Hopefully not too obnoxious.
Like, hey,
right?
everyone, not quite there. Hey,
it's the guys.
Hey,
we're not quite there.
That's all I got.
Yeah,
I don't think people want us to have that high of energy. Let's not do that.
We'll take it with a grain of salt. We'll just try to be ourselves here as we're coming in. And,
it's good. It's good.
We're gonna go with that. So,
well, before we turn our attention to what we're talking about today, we did also get another phone call from a guest on how we've been doing. I wanted to play that for you because I know you haven't really heard this yet.
Let's take a listen.
Hey, Mike. Hey, Chris. This is Michael. I heard you got the podcast launched. I heard it's out there. Wanting to wish you a lot of success. I want to wish you a knockout when it comes to subscribers. I think it's going to be great. And I also know that others have seen my career that there have been times where I'm not quite there. I'm trying to get there. Thank you. Thank you for your podcast.
Wow, the champ.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, Mike Tyson himself. He has a fight coming up, doesn't he?
I think so. I've
with
heard
Jake Paul?
some word about that.
I think he's fighting Jake Paul coming up.
He's got to be, 60, 75?
I don't know how old he is, 75, fighting like a 30-year-old.
Yeah.
He's probably going to win, too.
I would still be afraid.
You remember Mike Tyson's Punch-Out? Did you ever play that video game?
Yes, I remember Piston Honda. And, yeah, who
Way
was
to
it?
go.
Was it Bald Bull?
Yeah, Bald Bull. That's right.
Had to get him right there in
You got to get him when he's coming in hot.
Exactly.
Yes, right away.
Yeah, well, good to hear from old Mike.
Thank you, Tyson. We appreciate it. Good luck to you with your future endeavors.
Yes. Knock out whoever you are fighting. I would say we'll go for you.
So we figured that as we got this podcast going, that as Chris was saying earlier, we were going to share our stories. And we just want to do that so you get a chance to get to know us a little bit better. Put each other on the hot seat so we can lead the charge with that. So today is Chris's turn to be on the hot seat. Are you feeling
strong, my friend?
Are you feeling strong, my friend?
I'm not feeling strong at all. I'm feeling kind of vulnerable here because you did such a bang-up job last week. Yeah, you did.
This can't be a thing that we give each other compliments back and forth.
You know you did.
Everyone's
You've
turning
heard it
off
all week.
If y'all turn it off, we understand. But hang with us.
Thank you for setting the tone because it's basically nowhere to run to, nowhere to hide. I've got to bring my story today and kind of open up the vault a little bit, be a little bit vulnerable, I think, just to keep some continuity here. So that's what I've been working on this week is kind of preparing. You kind of have to go back into the weeds a bit, go through some of the good and the bad, and it's almost like a colonoscopy of the soul.
Oh,
or
a solonoscopy.
A solonoscopy.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's what we're dealing with today, folks.
That is a really good term right there, a solonoscopy. Have you ever had a colonoscopy?
I have not.
You've never had one?
I have not. Is this what everybody's doing?
Well, I guess we're just going to be real and really transparent here. So I've had 3 of them.
3 of them.
Apparently, you're not supposed to get them until you're, is it 50s?
Yeah.
50s?
That's it's coming up for me.
I had one. It was a long story for another time. I was on a mission trip. I took way too much Imodium.
Oh, no.
I was popping them like candy. I was nervous about getting sick. Came back, had my appendix out, had a colonoscopy. And then that led to them finding some stuff. Had a couple other ones.
Oh, my
Just for
goodness.
funsies, of course. I'm all good now. Thank you.
Okay, I'm glad
But
you're good.
3 colonoscopies. You've never had one
I've
yet.
never had. No, I haven't.
To those of you who've had one, you all understand. Here, let me get some things out of the way for you. Some fears that every guy has about this. The day of is the easiest thing you'll ever do. And no, you don't feel anything during or after. Because a lot of guys' fears are, how am I going to walk? Am I going to like penguin walk it afterwards? It's not true. It's the greatest day ever.
It's the greatest thing ever. I was going to say, whoa.
The night
let's slow
before.
down.
It's the night before. The night before. That is
That's the worst.
4 to 5 hours of things that transpire you did not know was in your body. So
That old Snickers bar.
anyone
From the time that you're
from
5 years
from
old.
your past, it finds a way. It finds a way to get there. Okay, so you've never had one. So we'll talk about that. We'll probably do an episode actually from the room when you have your future one.
Well, that'd be fun. Look forward to that.
So no colon cleaning for you, but let's do a little soul cleaning.
We're doing some soul
if you will.
cleaning.
Let's
Yes,
segue
we
this.
are.
Let's
Yes,
get
we
back on
are.
the right track. So, okay. Why don't you start us off by telling us, I mean, like everyone's story, a little bit of your childhood, kind of what was, as you said to little Mike last week, what was little Chris doing when he was growing up?
Yeah, there's quite a bit to unpack here in knowing that in walking down this road today, there's a lot of little off roads we can take, a lot of little trails, and I really don't want to do that because we can talk about that in other episodes, and I think it actually would be better if we did. So this will be more sticking to the main roads. We won't be we won't go chasing waterfalls today here. So we're gonna stick to the paths that we are used to. But childhood, born in Miami, Florida. I don't remember much about it because my parents divorced when I was 2, and so we moved back to my mother's hometown, Denver, Colorado, the Mile High City. I could actually see Mile High Stadium from the bedroom where we lived, which was with my grandparents. We did a quick jaunt on over to Texas for about a year and a half. My mother met a guy. He lived in Dallas. We went out there to live with him. It didn't work out. It was a bad idea. He was an abusive guy toward her. I remember him throwing a hairbrush at me when I was about 5 or so.
Wow.
And so, that didn't last very long. We got away from him. And so, but that was my first look at, somebody with a lot of dysfunction, and we would move back to Denver, and that's where you'd see a lot more dysfunction, living with family. Our block was, you could write a book about my block. It's might be something that I actually end up doing at some point, but
Writing a book about the block?
yeah, because it had so many different characters there, there were just a lot of families there that did. Though if anybody else were to walk on the block, it probably would be bad news for them if they didn't have good intentions. But inside that block, there was a lot of families that didn't like each other. And so you couldn't trust your neighbors. There were fights between men, fights between women fighting men. You just saw this play out on the streets there on my block. So a lot of dysfunction, a lot of bad decisions. There were a lot of people that were dealing with substance abuse that, I would later come to find out. But different names for people too. I mean, just thinking about some of the people on our block. There was the chicken lady. There was Nosy Grace, Michael the caveman, Gerard the freaker, Two-Faced Jack. I mean, just real creative names, which were basically given by the family of 14 that were living next to us.
So you didn't make these up?
We did not make these up. This was just what they were known by. We had a family that lived on the middle of the block, and they seemed to be the most critical of everybody. And, there were 14 of them, and some of the kids, they just decided to name just about everybody there. And
So why was Michael the caveman? Just pop quiz.
He had a lot of hair.
That was the whole
His hair was really long. So it wasn't the most encouraging place to be. It was a rough neighborhood. Denver at the time was dealing with a lot of gangs coming in from California, plus the homegrown gangs. And so North Denver was just not the greatest place to live. And you don't think about that when you think of Denver, Colorado, usually. But we seem to be in the place where, not a lot of good stuff was going on. So But it's weird because, and I say weird, but strange and good in the sense that looking back, I could see how God protected me in that, because a lot of the kids my age, they were getting into trouble. And, I'm here about 9 or 10 years old, and we have a lot of kids on the block, and they're doing some bad things. But at the time, my grandparents are part of this church, which would be, it would be labeled a cult back then. I think they've done some things to change that here recently, but very Judaic in practice.
Okay.
You followed a lot of the Jewish custom, Jewish tradition. We weren't Jewish, but it felt like we were, because we were basically living according to Old Testament law there at my grandparents' house.
What made it a cult? What do you mean by cult?
The fact that they really didn't advocate Jesus. They didn't say Jesus was your salvation. Kind of following the Old Testament laws was the way that they said that you could achieve salvation and be part of those that would actually be saved in the end when the world ended. And so,
Wow.
But yeah, that's what they believed at the time. And, my mother didn't really believe in it, but we were with my grandparents, and so I kind of had to follow their rules there. And though I didn't go to church with them, I wasn't allowed on Friday night or Saturday day to go outside and play, or to watch TV or
And what was that? Because like a Sabbath?
It was a Sabbath
rule? Okay.
Exactly. They observed the Sabbath from Friday sunset to Saturday sunset. And so, that's what kept me out of a lot of trouble. Looking back on it, I could say is that, I wasn't there going out on Friday nights with my friends, walking around the block, doing bad things, or on Saturdays when they were, coming across things that they didn't need to, and doing things they didn't need to, that I wasn't part of that. And that kind of kept me a little bit sheltered there too. Another thing that I remember being at least helpful in the long run is that, during that time, Denver was busing kids from the north side of town to the south side of town, which was a much better place to live. It was in Littleton, Colorado, and we would take a bus and go about 13 or 14 miles to school for 4th through 6th grade. And just riding the bus, riding down I-25, seeing Mile High Stadium and seeing, the downtown Denver. I got to see that on a daily basis, and I also got to see a nicer part of town and see how people lived. And that just opened my eyes to, wow, there's something outside of the north side here. You also got to see the mountains in the background, which was amazing.
Yeah.
But it also reminded me that this is not the way we live. And, we're kind of poor. And so that reality set in. But again, I think God used that to show me, okay, there's life outside of North Denver. This isn't just it.
And this is when you were 9 or 10.
This is when I'm 9 or 10.
So you're 9 or 10 with grandparents, north side of Denver. You're starting to get outside of that comfort zone or whatever, that upbringing, and you're realizing, okay, people live differently than us. Maybe we're poor, or poor is the realization. Okay, and then where to from there? Because is there even anything with God there at all, or is it just
Not
regular
really.
kid growing up? Okay.
No, it's more fear of God, because if you don't do the things right, if you don't keep the laws, if you don't clean your house and make sure that it's free of bread on the days of unleavened bread, then that might be inviting God to lay a smack to you. So
Okay.
yeah, a lot of fear,
Really
that's
rules
the God
driven
that I
fear.
knew.
Okay. Gotcha.
Exactly.
Okay. So where to from there?
So, okay, my mother moves out to Texas ahead of me. Again, no boyfriend this time, but she's out there. She's working. The understanding is that I'm going to join her, and there's no real timeline there. There's no set date, and so I'm kind of floundering there, going to school. I'm starting to get a little bit mean myself, and so Denver being a rough neighborhood. I start acting out. I start getting into the fights on the bus, fights at school, fights out there, when it's not the Sabbath. So, that starts to show. And, I'm becoming the typical North Denver kid, I would say, without meaning to. But there's one thing that kind of speeds up that timeline of me joining my mother out in Dallas. I'm helping my grandfather with some groceries from the car. He has me pick up a watermelon to carry it on inside, and I trip, and the watermelon goes all over the sidewalk. And so I go, I just dropped this watermelon. I figured, okay, I'm going to be in trouble. And I look up, and my grandfather, who's never raised a hand to me, always has been funny to me. He looks like he just wants to kill me. I mean, the look in his face. And, I would come to understand more about him and alcohol and, kind of what he was going through. But I run. I do the only thing that I know to do. And I run to a neighbor's house. And I wait. I have the neighbor call, or she decides she's going to call my grandmother and find out if it's okay for me to come home. And it is, but that puts the process quickly in place of getting me to Dallas. And that's the last time of that I see my grandfather. Last time I talked to him, actually. But that got me to Texas, and I'm out from there. I'm out of North Denver, and that feels pretty good.
Yeah. Wow. That's by the time you moved to Texas, how old are you now?
I am now 11.
Okay, so it's just 11. So this wasn't like a handful of more years. It was just okay.
Yeah, I'm 11 and move out there with my mom. We quickly moved to Carrollton, Texas, which is like Littleton, Colorado. I mean, without the mountains, but it's clean, it's fresh, it's a newer suburb, and things feel great. There's no fear of walking around the streets there in Carrollton. It's not as strangely exciting either. You don't see a lot of violence. You don't see a lot of arguing. You don't see that. I'm sure it's there, but it's not.
What is Carrollton even? Carrollton, suburb of Dallas-Fort Worth.
It is,
right?
Yeah.
So what's Carrollton even known for? They have like a famous Brahms in the corner, or what did they have?
At the time, it felt as vanilla can be. It wasn't Plano. It wasn't. It has
there's not a lot there.
Yeah,
not a lot there.
Okay.
Okay.
It was your just typical suburb at the time. There wasn't any big draw there.
Okay,
and that kind of felt good.
Yeah, it's a big shift from North Denver. It sounds like from what you're saying to. Suburb, just regular old vanilla suburb.
Yeah.
Okay, so you land there. You're with your mom.
I'm with my mom. She is a waitress. She's working doubles and triples. I'm a latchkey kid at this time. And so, I come home, I do my homework, maybe, baseball practice, start playing some sports. But basically it's me and MTV and cable. And if some of my friends want to get together, we get together, and I'm over at their house. But
did you play baseball too? Did we both play baseball? Did we not know this?
Baseball.
What position did you play?
I played third base.
Oh, yeah. I was second and shortstop.
Oh, very
nice.
nice.
We were baseball buddies.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
I'd turn a double play sometime.
Did not know that. Wow. I heard that double play. I heard that. That's a good one.
We'll need to do that.
Should I add like a laugh track?
Add a laugh track in there.
You think? I don't have it on me, but next time. There's a crickets track.
Maybe a baseball something or other.
That was a really good joke.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's get back. Okay, let's get back to this here. So you're okay with your mom. This is life as a kid. So from here, where does Jesus even come into your life? Does this happen yet? Is that way later? Like
nothing about Jesus yet. We both don't want anything to do with church at this point.
Especially after your experience.
Yeah, my mom, she has no time for it, number one. And then I'm just not looking for any kind of rules. This is some freedom here, freedom of schedule. I am going out on Fridays with friends and, the Saturdays, and it's a whole different world. But we're still poor.
Yeah.
We're living from apartment to apartment. We're just, mom's, my mom has several different jobs, and then sometimes those jobs get changed over, and she's doing the best she can. She's working really hard. But I'm also not wanting to get into too much trouble either.
Sure.
There to make it any harder. So there's that.
Yep.
My grandmother would come join us after my grandfather passed away, which was a couple years after I moved. And then with that, there was more stability. There was somebody else at home, and I'm playing football. That's one good thing that's going on during that time. And I get moved up to varsity my sophomore year. So right away, I'm hanging out with an older crowd. and going to parties, dating girls, getting a lot of attention. And I'm liking that. It's just parties, girls, being punks, and playing football. And it's a good feeling. I feel like I'm a part of something there. But still, there is that guilt from what I knew of the church early on. It's that you're not living right and you're not doing things the right way, and so there's still that feeling of God may zap you at some point.
So you were almost carrying that guilt, like you could feel that at that age.
There's a tension there.
Okay.
I'm feeling that there's just from what we practiced early on, with that church to this is you're having too much fun here.
Like there's some law you're breaking or something like that. Like you were feeling some type of tension.
Exactly. There was definitely a tension there.
Interesting. Okay.
And so, I feel like there's something missing. Fortunately, I do have a locker next to a guy named Shane Christopher, and he's different. Everybody likes Shane. He carries himself really well. He doesn't say, he's not the life of the party, but he, when he talks, people listen. And he keeps asking me, do you want to go to this thing called Student Venture? Do you want to be part of this Bible study? Do you want to learn more about the Bible? And he's pretty outspoken about that, and he does it in a friendly way, not an obnoxious way. And then finally, I just say, yeah, I do. I want to learn more about that. And so I go and I join them on a Sunday night for a Bible study, and I do that for several weeks. And the gospel's laid out for me by a guy named Barry Bolin, who just invests in the lives of students. And he shares that, there is a throne of your heart, and either you're on it or Jesus sits on that. And that description, that picture just stuck with me so well. And I said right there, I know that I'm trying to sit on that throne of my heart, and it's not working. And so I accept Jesus into my heart at a Bible study on a Sunday night.
How old were you when this happened?
I was 17.
Okay.
Yeah. This was after some wild years of partying, getting into some trouble. There's one fight that I remember that I got into at a party with several guys, and, my friends were there, and they kind of came to my rescue there too. And, just things that just were, they felt like Denver, and felt like I was going that way again and getting mean. And God pulled me back. He made sure that Shane was right there next to me in that locker room, and that I had that invite, and that I got to hear about Jesus, and that was a great thing.
It's crazy that we were both invited, later in life, like me from a girl and you from Shane.
Yeah.
I mean, but like not everyone makes the invites. I struggle with those. Always inviting someone to church. I don't always do it every single time. But, it makes me think, what if Shane didn't bring that up to you? Or what if that girl didn't invite me, and we had baggage? We had that sin up to that point. You were 17. I was low 20s. I don't remember. But, wow, what a powerful, how much an invite actually matters.
Yeah, an invite makes all the difference.
Yeah. Wow.
And I could have easily said no, and I could have, continued to brush him off.
Yeah, you said yes, but still, I mean, so Shane invites you. Barry Boland, that's his name, helps kind of teach you the gospel, or at least you hear it, and he's pouring into students. So then your life, I mean, so what happens? You dramatically overnight change, or what happens from there? 17.
And not even close, bud. There's this tension going back and forth, because there's no real discipling after that. I still don't want to touch a church. I don't want to go be part of anything. And so, I do have this new relationship with Christ, and I do have a Bible, and but there's still time where I'm waffling between, staying with old friends and a new bunch of friends that live differently, and. I still have some trust issues there too, and I'm people pleasing, and just trying to play both sides, and trying not to cause too many problems for myself there. So, but no overnight change at all.
Yeah. So no discipleship there. I mean, that's funny. I'm hearing this, fresh. It's not, just so people know, we're not like rehearsing and scripting out these episodes. This is real life, real conversation on the first round. Because I had like a discipleship too, and it was I was kind of describing it as kind of hell on earth at first because. I think I did also want to play both sides. Well, I didn't know. I didn't know what was sin.
Sure. You didn't
know. How do you
what,
know? I mean, how would you have known even at 17? Like, what changes you might have to make in your life? Like, how do you know?
Yeah.
Otherwise,
I really didn't, and so kind of figured it out the hard way there.
Wow. So how long did that go for? Like no discipleship? Was it years?
I would say,
wow.
It would be years because I would go on and graduate there. I didn't really have a plan for, college or have any particular degree that I was going to pursue.
Okay.
I just knew that the next step was going to college, and I planned on going to CU in Boulder, Colorado University, or University of Colorado, and I chose Arizona instead because I knew Colorado and had visited there before, and I really was looking for something new and fresh that I hadn't seen before, and Tucson was it. I wanted to be adventurous. It was during a time where I was doing some adventurous things like skydiving, mountain biking, rock climbing. All those things were important to me at that time, and Tucson just...
Is Tucson like a hot spot for that?
Yeah, the Mount Lemmon there in Tucson,
okay.
You can do all those things, and places nearby you can go skydiving, and but rock climbing, mountain biking, all that was right there, and it was relatively close to campus, and so the friends that I met there, that's what they like to do too, and so it was the perfect place for a while, and then just as I got more into college lifestyle there, that's where the tension really ratcheted up because I was being offered things like drugs and being offered, there were girls that were interested in me, and that's where I feel like the Holy Spirit was beginning to really work inside of me and say, okay, this is not for you, and you're not going to graduate from here, and you're not going to spend a lot of time here. In fact, it's probably better for you to go back to Texas, and so that's what I did.
Wow. How long were you there?
I was there for a full semester.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you were only there for
I was only there for a full semester.
Wow, that's pretty fast.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was. And it happened pretty quick. There was a lot that happened within a semester to, tell me that, even though there's some nice people that I'm meeting here, it's different.
Yeah. So one semester only, back to Texas.
I was planning on going to Texas A&M.
Okay.
And
I'm sure there's lots of Aggie fans out there celebrating right now.
I'm sure.
But you said was planning, so that means you didn't land there.
Yeah, I didn't land there. I was taking classes on the A&M campus there at Blinn because you couldn't transfer right in. At that point, I didn't have enough hours there to transfer in, and so I was planning on going there, taking classes there in College Station, and I drove past Waco or into Waco to see some friends of mine from high school.
Oh, you said Waco. Here we go.
Yeah, and I loved it. I fell in love with Baylor, and I took some classes there with some friends, just joined them in their classes the next day. I was staying overnight, and I was like, I need to be here.
Yeah.
And definitely felt led to change my decision there and go to Baylor, and that's what I did.
Baylor, people, not Texas A&M for all of you. Aggie, people are really passionate about their colleges.
They really are, especially here in Texas.
Yeah, like even when they're like 40 or 50 years old, they get mad if you talk about another college. It's like Al Bundy living his high school days, 4 touchdowns in one game over and over again.
Yeah, nice Married with Children reference.
Thank you very much. No crickets for that one. But for real, have you noticed, so my college was all over the place, but people get... I feel like over the top about it's college people.
Yeah, I don't see that slowing down anytime soon.
I guess not. Okay, fine. Okay, so Baylor, half the room is going to be excited about Baylor. You just said that. The other half, you may have just lost them. Let's hope they're still listening.
Yeah.
So you're at Baylor. Here we go.
Again, great place. A different kind of peer pressure, I would say there. At Arizona, there, the pressure was more if you're not doing something bad, then what's wrong with you? If you're not smoking this or going to this place, then you've got something that might be wrong with you. What is it? At Baylor is more the peer pressure to do good.
Okay, it's awesome.
Not mess up, to have faith. And that was It was refreshing.
Yeah.
That
Sounds like the opposite.
it did. There,
Yeah.
That's where I met a lot of friends there that I'm still friends with today that are walking in faith and doing so really well. Went to church for the first time in a long time there. Calvary Baptist Church there in Waco, and was baptized there. But still, no discipleship. There was not any kind of formal, this is how you do discipleship type of training or anything that was leading me to think, okay, well, you need to take that step.
I was going to ask you, why do you think that's lacking? Do you think there's lack of people doing that with you, or you just not even knowing
both
what the relevance is? A little bit of both.
I would say the both.
Okay.
I wasn't seeking it out, nor was I seeing an option to do that.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
So that's what college in a nutshell is, basically trying to get a little bit more familiar with my faith by doing the things that I saw other people doing that were also walking in faith.
Yeah.
Just trying things on for the first time, it felt like.
Oh, yeah. That's quite the journey for 7 or 8 years of, kid in North Denver, dramatically different in Carrollton, to then being invited back or being invited to church, from a cult experience in your past, to then going to Arizona, back over to Baylor. Like the pendulum swings of one extreme to the other is like a theme here, I feel like.
It is. I just, I really have no sense of what life is supposed to look like here.
You're swinging for the fences over and over.
I tell you what, it really does feel like trying things on. And
wow.
There's just no particular rhyme or reason other than, I know what the common themes are there throughout all that is that there's just no real direction.
Yeah.
And the lack of discipleship there or me not seeking it out. I'm just looking and trying to grab at things here to find that next step.
So what are you going to say? Did you go from Baylor then to Rhode Island or another country? I feel like you're about to have another extreme shift.
No, in fact, it's not extreme at all.
Does it start stabilizing from here a little bit?
In a way, I'm back in Dallas-Fort Worth. I get a job. My degree there at Baylor is management information systems, and
that sounds really important.
It does, and
really
I'm glad it does because there was some money that came along with that, and I didn't want to be poor, Mike. I wanted to make a pretty decent salary, and while finishing up at Baylor, and or getting close to my final years at Baylor, I changed my major from marketing to management information systems because that's what I heard you should do if you want a good job out of college. And so, the funny thing is I'm not the most technically oriented, I'm definitely not like you,
I don't think I'm management information systems material though.
But you like tech.
I do like tech.
I can't say that I really like tech, but
yeah, but you wanted some security, job, money, and that makes sense from your upbringing, right? That was all not there.
Yeah.
So that totally makes sense.
I wanted to fill that gap and make sure that was filled. And
For sure.
That's what I pursued. And,
okay.
So I'm living in Dallas, and I'm going to a Bible study in Dallas called Metro. It's led by Tommy Nelson at the time. It's at the old Prestonwood Baptist Church, and a lot of singles are there. And by God's grace, that's where I meet my wife, Jessica. And there's more that we can talk about in that regard. We'll touch on marriage and our families and our kids. And, we've been married for 25 years. We have a 12-year-old daughter named Clara. That's a great story in itself, after battling infertility. But I think that's for another day because there's a lot that we can talk about there. And I know there's a lot that you're going to want to talk about.
Special shout out to our wives and our families because I said the same thing to Joelle from last week. I mean, we are going to have a separate. We totally have to have other episodes. There's not enough time.
We're not trying to gloss over.
No, we're
things.
not glossing. In fact, you probably could, if you could see video, you would probably see tears and welling up. So it's like, oh, let's save this because we don't have 5 hours for this right now. So we obviously love our wives and our families, and we'll just save that for an extended edition.
There's plenty
episode.
to dive into there.
Yep. So married. So then. I'm sorry. Yeah. So you.
We meet, we date, we get married, and then we move.
How long did you date?
We were dating for, it was, I would say, before we got engaged, it was about 7 months. So
Okay.
we did not have a long
That's nice.
dating period. So after marriage, we were living in Uptown, just down there by downtown, by where the American Airlines Center is being built. And for one reason or another, we decided we're going to move to Flower Mound. And so that's where we've been.
Why did you choose Flower Mound? What takes someone from Uptown to Flower Mound? Besides, like, it almost rhymes. Like, why
from Uptown?
Why are you picking, like, that seems random. Like, why Flower Mound?
It had an affordable house that we liked.
Okay.
And
so you're looking for housing.
We're looking for a house.
There.
We find a house there, and now we're in the suburbs, and we're needing a church. We were going to Park City's Baptist down when we lived in Uptown, and now we're on the hunt for a new church. And so somehow we stumble across this little church in a dairy farmer's building called 121. And I like how you talked about your experience of, if I walk in and I see, some folding chairs and 10 people, I'm walking out.
Oh, yeah.
We had no idea what to expect walking into that building either. But once you're in, looks can be deceiving.
What do you mean by dairy farmers? It's like it's on a farm, or what does that mean?
No, it's actually the office building. It says dairy farmers on it at the time. And so
it just had the name dairy farmers.
Dairy farmers.
Okay.
So,
Wow.
I always thought of it as the dairy farmers building.
So North Denver, all the way trajectory of your life to the dairy farmers of the world.
That's where we're at right now.
Yeah.
And so we walk in and, I start talking to a guy who's sitting on the first row, and we're talking about sports. And then I see him walk up to the stage, and I hope I didn't say anything that was, that he's not going to like, because he's preaching the sermon right now. And
like, you hope he didn't cuss or tell him
your
deepest, darkest sins.
Exactly.
Do you say that when you first meet someone? You just go straight into potty mouth and deepest, darkest sins?
I can't remember ever doing that.
Okay.
Hopefully.
You were so nervous. I don't know what you told him. I'm just curious, whatever you talked to this guy about.
We're talking about sports.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Just sports. Okay.
We're talking about sports. But all that to say, we liked the preaching, we liked the music, and we felt like we could go back.
That's awesome.
We did, and we continued going back. And
can I ask you a question on that really quick?
Yeah.
So when you were there, so it's hard for me to think you have this cultish experience. You have Shane invite you, to church, and it's like a youth. You're 17. Now you're older. You're married. You go to this church, and you just said you like the preaching and the music. Like, are you just now viewing, church is normal and this is what I should do? Like, were there any other hangups on that? I feel like that'd be hard for me to all of a sudden be like, oh, okay, I could be here. Was it just that good? Or like, what, how did you reconcile that with your past church experience?
It was different.
Okay.
It was, it felt real. The people there, it didn't feel like everybody was putting on their Sunday best.
Gotcha. And it felt like that before.
It had felt like that.
It felt like fakers before, like just fake Christianity, whatever, just people posing. And
I didn't feel like I could be known, or that I could get to know anybody really well. And whether or not that's true, I don't know.
Sure.
There's ways to get to know people if you get the effort, or if you try.
Yeah. But for you, that's how it felt. If it felt real, you actually people are being authentic with each other.
That's the perfect word for it.
It wasn't like it was before. This was just nothing like we had before.
Right.
Okay.
And so and it was small enough too to feel like you're part of something.
It's awesome.
And that's where I would say that I had faith. Here, I actually see how faith and works are actually playing out together, because there were always opportunities to serve. I would learn more about missions and, whether local or world mission. It's just part of the DNA. And then, with serving, that would just lend into, a different career choice as I moved from IT into nonprofit work. Had a chance to work with a ministry that helped single mothers, and that
Wow.
isn't that just so appropriate
Yeah.
there to
You have a heartbeat for that, I would assume.
exactly that really helped to shed some light on again how I grew up and understand that more and more, and kind of even heal through that a bit. But
So how IT to nonprofit? You just were tired of IT after years of doing it, or why?
yeah, I just didn't really feel like I
Okay.
was going to move forward in my career there,
Gotcha.
and so
Gotcha.
getting into nonprofit, that seemed to match the heartbeat there too of what I was learning at 121 and where I felt like I could be the most help. And fortunately, I had a chance to do that in a couple of different organizations. And then right around the time that COVID hit, pretty close to that, for some financial reasons there with the organization that I was at, I was let go. Some leadership was let go there too for financial reasons. And I found myself in digital marketing. And one of the ways that God has surprised me is how he strings things together that don't necessarily make sense. And then, over the course of the different things that I've done work-wise and just how I'm naturally wired, marketing, back that old major that I decided to turn my head on and go toward IT. I just had a knack for it, and God allowed me back in it at a time to where it was really needed. And I've been a consultant since then and just have really enjoyed it, and felt like I've been able to do some really neat things inside of that world. And so that's where I'm at now. But that's me. That's me not being quite there.
No. And thank you for sharing. It's hard to, I feel like it's hard to do this, and to hear, I never picked up until you were talking just now, the themes of going from one extreme to another and you not having that modeled ahead of you, discipleship or fatherhood or any of that. And then just from the years we've known each other, I mean, the type of man you are today, I mean, it's incredible what the Lord has done through your life and the way you serve your wife and your daughter and disciple others. And because you're so faithful with that. And it's always awesome for me to get to see, or for any of us to get to see, like, that wasn't part of your DNA. Like, in fact, it wasn't even just a part. It was like it was the opposite. And then look how Jesus has redeemed that and then just made you who you are today, which is just incredible. Like, that's just, what else can explain something like that? If you're sharing the story with someone, I mean, I get weird things can happen to people, but at the end of the day, like, what can explain such a change in someone's life and trajectory? Because you were headed in a completely different pathway.
Only the grace of God.
Wow.
And thank you for your comments there. I really appreciate that.
Yeah.
And I could see that now, and it's really the the epitome of what we're doing here, right? I mean, we both admit to not being quite there. I think we both see that vulnerability is the key to unlocking growth for us, and doing this podcast here together, I think that's something where we're inviting people in, and you're right. Struggles of growing up without a father, a single parent home, rough neighborhood, dysfunction, lack of discipleship, even the unorthodox career path, all of those things I can point at and say, God had plans with that.
Yeah.
It's,
I think it can make you really relatable with people too, because you just understand different walks of life. And maybe that's a little bit of both of us. And gosh, maybe even that is, we have this whole not quite there thing. Maybe that's why. It's just, we understand, we've been all over the map, different places. I mean, and like you just said, I mean, so now, people, a little bit more about us. And it's hard to share your story. And I mean, Chris, you don't even know I'm going to ask this, but we'd love to hear yours. And we don't know exactly, the best way for you to do that. We basically have a mailbag, we have an email address. It'll be in the show notes. It's just info@notquitethereshow.com. So that's a little bit of a mouthful on a domain, but the other domains weren't available. So don't judge us. But We'll put it in the show notes. I mean, we'd love to hear from you, whether it's through a review or a comment on any of our platforms or just in the email address. Send us a little bit about yourself. Ask us questions. Share even hard moments. I mean, I think you're getting the feel that we want to be as real as possible. If we're really believing what the Bible has to say about all of this, I mean, we don't have time for games or fluff.
No fluff.
Or even like you said, in like the past church experience, and I had a couple of those, like the fake Sunday bet. Like, what is that? And that's not the gospel. That's not the God of the Bible. And we're not going to do that here. So yeah, we'd love to hear from you on that.
Yeah, and we hope this encourages you too, because we both know what it feels like to be out there and kind of feel stuck and without a roadmap. And if that's you, I know that part of my issue is not asking or knowing what to ask or who to ask or how to ask. When I needed help or needed somebody to help guide me in finding out what that path needed to look like. So if that is you, again, please, use that digital email bag. Let us know. And if anything else, we can at least pray for you.
Well, you are now officially off the hot seat. How do you feel? A little lighter?
I do feel a little bit lighter.
A breath of refreshment because you did it, my friend.
Yay.
We are done with story time. We're going to move forward towards some other topics, but really thank you for sharing that and being honest, and I think that was great.
This solonoscopy was the best solonoscopy I've ever had.
Thanks so much for joining us. Please consider rating and reviewing our podcast and hitting subscribe on whichever platform you prefer. Remember to keep moving forward because we're not quite there.